Hi, everybody. This is Jill, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time going over the first project for this class, which is due on Sunday. So now that we are in week 4, you should be finalizing your writing plan. And then in weeks 5 through 8, you're going to be working on the actual writing of your paper. So the parts that you've been working on the past few weeks, you will compile all together in one final project for this week. And then you're going to use all that information and the research question and the description of your project to then work on proving your thesis, which is something that you'll develop from your research question. So this presentation is just meant to give you some additional clarity on the expectations for this first project due this week. So the overview of the project, which you may have read about in the rubric, is really for you to help learn about an event from the past that's related to American history a little bit more in depth. So you're really developing some research skills when you're writing this project, doing this project. You're learning how to use sources to examine a topic through a historical lens. As I just mentioned, the first project, which is due this week, is your writing plan. So this is where you've identified your topic, described the significance of your event, and identified some sources that are going to help you with your researching and then writing up the paper. And project 2 deals with the historical cause and effect and the consequences from whatever your topic is that you've selected. So in modules 1 through 4, you identified your research topic. Many of you picked some of the topics that were listed in the course, or you could have come up with your own topic that's of interest to you. You then are going on and describing its historical significance. So this, for your writing plan, should be developed into about a paragraph. So what is your topic? Why is it important? Why do we study it? Why would we want to learn more about it? You also are developing a research question, and you want to make sure that this is a simple question. You don't want to make it too complicated, because this is what you'll use to then develop your thesis statement. And then you're locating primary and secondary sources to use as evidence, and you're applying key approaches to studying history and selecting your audience for your project. So this week on Sunday, you'll submit your writing plan. All right, so this is the first major project. There's another one that's due in week 8. And so this is going to be worth a bit more. And really, you're just putting together all of the work that you've done in weeks 1, 2, and 3. So the following slides are going to go over exactly what you need to include in your writing plan submission. Please make sure that you check out the rubric. It goes into the specifics of each of these subtopics and what you'll need to include to really do well on this assignment. So the first part is identifying your historical event and then explaining why it's significant. So if I was going to pick a topic, Irish immigrant experience, this is what my description might look like of its historical significance. The Irish were one of the first immigrant groups to come to America in large numbers. Following the potato famine, also known as the Great Hunger, which occurred from 1845 to 1849, many traveled to the United States to escape poverty in search of a better life. These immigrants experienced discrimination from native-born Americans and had to prove their loyalty to their adopted country in order to gain acceptance and gradually assimilate over time. So that's my topic. That's an explanation of what it was, and that's explaining why it's significant in our study of American history. You then are identifying 2 secondary sources, and many of you have already done this. I would really suggest that you look through the Shapiro Library, which is through Southern New Hampshire University, because you'll know for sure that your sources are credible. You can also actually narrow it down so that you have primary sources, if you're searching for primary sources, through the Shapiro Library, and it's much more reliable than sort of just going onto Google and just doing a search, Irish immigrants. So you'll be able to narrow down your topic. You can use those Boolean operators to narrow it down further and really identify sources that are going to be the most beneficial for you. You should also describe your sources. So don't just list them. You should list them. Make sure you include all retrievable information. So you want to have your author, your title, your date of publication, and the publisher at a minimum. Should be cited in APA format. So it's good to always sort of be in the habit of just doing that automatically. And then what is your source about? So you want to make sure that even if you haven't read it cover to cover, or if it's an article that you haven't read the whole article, at least you've skimmed through it so you understand how it's going to help you with answering your research question. And then you also need at least 2 primary sources. So examples of primary sources, these are firsthand accounts. So it could be interviews, speeches, court cases, laws, newspaper articles of that time period. So all of those are examples of primary sources, and you want to identify at least 2. Why are those helpful? How will you include them? Anytime that you are incorporating your primary sources into then your writing, and this is into project 2, that's when you might be directly quoting them. Anything secondary, you'll be probably paraphrasing or summarizing. All of that, when you get to the writing piece, you should be citing in text. But this is the other piece of this first project, the writing plan, that you want to make sure you've identified. And then finally, you want your research question. And this is what you want to know. All right. So for example, with my topic of Irish immigrant experience, I might ask, how were the Irish able to overcome discrimination when they came to America? It's not a very complicated question. It's a simple question, but it's open-ended enough that as I'm then doing my research and learning more about my topic, I'll be able to develop a thesis statement. You do not now have to develop your thesis for your writing plan. We will revisit that again a little bit later. You have already submitted a preliminary thesis statement, but this is something that may evolve as you research and learn more about your topic. And then lastly, you want to identify your audience. So who is interested in your event? Who would want to learn about whatever you uncover in your research and in your paper? So you read a little bit in the MindEdge text about audience. You need to identify who is the audience for your work. And then how will you tailor your message to this particular audience? So what will you do to make sure that your audience understands what you're writing about? And then finally, you want to make sure that your writing plan adheres to the formatting guidelines. So it should be about 1 to 2 pages in length. You want to double space it, use 12-point Times New Roman font, include 1-inch margins. Proofread for conventions. You can always utilize the online writing center for help with your writing and help with conventions. And be sure to include your accurate references formatted in APA style. For the week 4 writing plan, I will plan on also leaving feedback for you in the Turnitin grade mark part of the paper. So you won't just look at the overall comment or the rubric comments. You should actually go to your paper, because I'll note any errors with conventions or give you some notes in the paper that you can then incorporate into your actual historical analysis paper when you get to that phase of the project. I'm available, of course, by email, or if you wanted to connect in office hours or on the phone, I could speak to you as well about any support you need with this assignment. But I'm really impressed so far with what you've identified for your topics and the work that you've all done on this assignment, and I really look forward to reading your writing plans.